Welcome to our Canadian Disc Golf production coverage of the Bronte Creek Flex Tournament that was held over the May long weekend. I'm Josh Sachs.
And I'm Galen Naidu Harris, and go by Instagram as Flickmaster Flex. We're about to see. This was a fun day at disc golf there, Josh.
Yeah, it was. I love the nice bright sun we had on the coverage because it was overcast all day for us.
Yeah, I was just going to make a similar comment. Yeah, I was practicing the whole morning and it was miserable, but brightened up nicely. So we've got Jake Kirkle coming up first on our card. He plays sort of the standard route here on hole 1. A wide, slightly hyzered backhand. I do the same thing, but I throw it about 100 feet higher. Somehow make it work for me.
So yeah, it's only a 254-foot hole, but no real trouble other than a little OB on the left side that you really shouldn't get into.
Looks like you get to see Jake's drive again because it was so good. Yeah, that's sort of the standard play. Take it up the right-hand side, skip something towards the pin, and stay away from that OB in the middle.
And your only other concern is going a little long on the basket because it drops straight off into the valley there.
Yeah, no out of bounds there, but you almost wish you were with all the stuff down there. You got to try and fight through to get back. And to show a little bit of how the sausage is made, we're actually re-recording this commentary. And last time I commented on, and well again, how interesting it is playing with Scott as a lefty, because he shows you lines you never think of. I would never consider some of the things that pop into his brain, and it helps you play a little better sometimes. Having players that have to think differently. Jake giving it a nice run there, but leaving it a bit short. Nice birdie putt there for Scott. Birdie putt there for Galen. Yeah, Josh. Putt there for Josh.
This hole played basically 2 par on the day. Not really surprising. You're going to see a lot of threes out here.
For sure.
The odd 2, the odd 4.
Yep, but pretty standard. Here we've got a 221-foot par 3. Basket's tucked away on the right-hand side there where you see Scott's disc going, because that was a great drive. And there's not a whole lot of, actually there's no OB to speak of, but there's a lot of trouble you can get into if you catch something on the right or left in this early gap, or if you go past the basket or too far to the right.
This is one of Bronte's only lefty-friendly holes.
Yeah, this is not a Scott-friendly hole at all. And continuing the trend of drives that are so good, drives that are so nice, we have to see them twice. Scott and I get the replay. I guess Jake got the replay last time. And again, continuing my trend of throwing discs really high in the air, but lines that I think are okay, so alright.
This looked really good until it got swatted down by the tree right there.
I think Bronte's like that on a lot of holes. There's a lot of places you think you're just fine, and the smallest little branch catches you, and all of a sudden you've got yourself made.
I'm filming at Bronte.
Which you just made right there.
Probably outside.
Okay.
This played
No, busy. I want to do editing and whatnot. So I think we'll just keep it to Thursday.
Only a few birdies on the day out of the field.
Okay. No problem. Communicating, that's all.
Specifically Alex Tiffin, Dave Bochinowski, and Nathaniel Stay off.
No, I still need to get the car to the garage and the ring.
Guys to get 2 good birdies. I'm actually kind of surprised the number's that low, though. I mean, there's a lot of trouble, especially this time of the year when it's a little more grown in, but there's a pretty obvious forehand or turnover. And as you can see, I don't think anybody on our card connects for the birdie, but typically playing this, the birdie's not too far out of reach, so I'm surprised that it played a little bit over par. Moving on a moment to hole 3, which is like the most traditional hole ever for a right-hand backhand dominant player. You've got a 221-foot par 3 with all of the trouble in the world right in front of you. You want to hang something out wide with this little space to the right-hand side of the players on the tee box and let it fade in. Or if you're Scott, just spray and pray as a lefty, because it is not designed for you.
I mean, he got it up and over everything, which I don't think any of us were expecting.
Yeah,
It's a
I was
weird
impressed.
angle for a lefty to throw, but it seemed to work out for him.
Well, and you know, speaking of looking at things from different perspectives, as I was a second ago, if you just look at the way the hole draws up for Scott, reverse it, and I have no idea how I'm going to make that work for me.
You remember you're lining up there, G?
Yeah, that's that new, or I guess not super new anymore, Thought Space Omen. It's the most stable disc that makes sense to put in my bag for me. I tried the flick, I've thrown the tilt a few times, and they're just so overstable it's impossible. But it's more stable than like a Cap Raptor or like a Firebird or something. A couple of nice drives here from Jake.
Yeah, Jake
Nice and in play. Oh, he caught something earlier.
Yeah, I got a little stuck. I thought it looked like a nice line, just got it a little early on the fade and just caught that last tree before you get into the opening here.
Well, that's the challenge of this hole is, you know, you can pick and choose your lines, and obviously, whatever the hole is, if you hit your line perfectly, you're going to find a way to the basket. But generally speaking, you can throw a great drive here and easily make it to 3 feet from the pin, or hit something and be 80 feet away. It's like not really predictable. Catching another birdie there.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not a bad start for me.
And again, played very close to par. Not a lot of, only 4 birdies, including yourself, Derek K, Mike Pelly, and Nathan Thompson.
Sounds about right. This is a tricky birdie to get. So again, looking at the last one, I'm kind of surprised that there's twice as many birdies on this weird hole in the last one. But here we are.
So hole 4, only 211 feet, but new to this event, and maybe only a week or so before was this implemented, is all that long grass on the right there, right before you hit that kind of little hill there, is OB.
So Scott's demonstrating where that out of bounds is for the car.
So if you got that about 5 feet further, he would have been fine.
And this is good. I get to comment again on what I did to my drive, which we didn't last time. Just turned it over a little bit. That's like the most overstable mid-range in my bag. Flipped it up and somehow got enough on it that she turned it. And Scott's showing us that lovely OB. He's so close to getting through, but just doesn't quite. Jake with a nice high hyzer rip. That's another common line you'll see through the limbs of that tree on the right-hand side. He's pretty happy with that
it's
drive.
It's so weird because this wasn't that long ago, and it just seems so much more grown in.
Oh, I know. If you're playing,
if you're playing now.
Yeah. So we're recording this on June 26th or 27th, and playing Bronte Creek now, it's like a wall of green in front of you, preventing you from getting anything near the basket.
That's nice.
Nice upshot there from
Nice
Scott.
hyzer there from Scott.
A little long, but can't hate that. Pretty simple upshot there for me. A flip around over those trees, and we've got you lining up a pretty long putt, but makeable if everything goes right. And almost everything goes right.
Yeah,
just a little low.
It's one of those days we're going to see a lot of metal.
Oh yeah.
lot of
all
metal.
of it on these putts. And this is something else we were talking about the first time we recorded this commentary. With players of our skill level, it's rare to find somebody that has all the pieces of a good game. Otherwise, we'd probably be playing in higher division. So somebody that can backhand and forehand and has a good upshot game and a good scramble game and is a good putter just doesn't really happen at MA2. And for whatever reason, this seemed a day where we all decided we were going to putt poorly because there was a lot of metal.
I mean, there is something to be said for we were at least hitting metal.
Sure, yeah, we're doing good things.
I find that significantly better off than just airballing everything.
Sure.
So there's a little bit of a backup, so we got another group on the tee here with us.
Yeah, and I think I got chastised after throwing this by Wally because, oh, come on, Jake, get there. Oh, yeah, he's going to be for a second. Oh, he's giving an ace run, jeez. The green thing you saw on the ground as Wally was shooting the hole there was my disc that I threw too early. Looked over and thought he gave me a thumbs up.
That's all good, don't worry.
He did not.
I don't think I had the same issue.
The joys of editing.
My drive, but I threw it straight into the OB.
Yeah, that was a great upshot, though. This is a challenging drop zone, this current end. Scott. Not sure if that was a well-executed layup or a sad putt, but
I would say wisely taking the par because a lot of things can happen on that shot.
yeah.
If you get knocked down by the tree, you've got an awkward stance.
Yeah, oh, for sure. That was one of my more happy
Scott.
moments of the day. It was probably about 100-foot throw in there for my birdie putt, and I felt like things evened out for me because I missed a couple of really easy putts, but then I made that long jumper and one other a little bit later. And I was sort of like, you know what? It's sort of like I missed the long putts that I shouldn't have made and made the short putts I should have. It all comes out in the wash. Jake with a nice putt there to finish that off.
So hole 6, straight over the valley, just playing at 215 feet. OB is long grass, basically.
Or if you are unlucky enough to get there, that road to the right is also out of bounds, but we stay pretty clear of that.
Yeah.
And I
Nice little turnover,
overturned
but
something
juiced.
too far.
But again, good thing it went too far because you're not OB.
Yeah, for sure.
You went right over it.
Yeah, here it is again in stunning.
Take a look at that follow play.
Stunning 3D motion. Yeah, over there, you're not loving it, but you're not in too much trouble. Jake takes a more standard play and goes up the middle.
Straight at it.
Beautiful
Looking
flex line.
very good.
Comes out a little shorter than it looked out of the hand, but he's still got a weird, lean, straddled, flick plotter and easy upshot in the 3.
He's unfortunately behind a tree.
Lefty Scott doing lefty things, flexes a different line, also comes up a little shorter than we thought. I thought that was beautiful out of the hand.
Here's my shot, which we all thought very good
Oh.
things about until it's like, oh, that's going to be long.
Yeah, it looked unreal, and I thought was unreal, but just slipped a few feet past the basket, and that pear tree there can be a lot of trouble.
Let's see.
Scott with like the hyzeriest putt I've ever seen. Jake does try and flick that putt, can't quite get it there.
You found the one tree that was in your way.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It seems like you're clear, and then you hit something on Bronte all the time.
And I took the unwise decision of trying to throw the putt through the tree,
Yeah.
whereas I should have just thrown it out to there, or probably further. Because there's a little more metal for me.
Stupid baskets. They should just be all chains. I don't know why they put these actual baskets and bands on the top. Just chains from the ground to the sky, and that way we can't miss putts. But it's still early enough. Like, I find with me, early on in the round, I find I'm more liable to not necessarily play risky, but to overextend a bit more. It's later on in the round, and I know I'm playing for a specific position, or there are considerations based on the standings. That's fine. But early on, you want to go for a putt like that, because if you make it, it puts you on a really good trajectory for the rest of the round. And worst case, if you miss it, you had a stroke. I don't mind you going for that at all there.
So hole 7 coming back.
See, there I am checking for the thumbs up this time before I throw. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, only 196 feet. You're coming straight back. Little tunnel on the. I guess we're going for the right gap. There is a lefty gap going the other way that I don't think Scott even used.
Yeah, it comes more to play on the long tee pad. For those who don't know, Bronte Creek has two baskets and 2 pads for each hole. And each of them plays like a different course, is what makes it so fantastic. Great drive there from, I'm guessing, Jake, based on the color of that disc.
That was Jake.
Just outside the circle, but he's got a good look at it, I bet.
I will say, the way that throw looked, it looked like he threw a tomahawk.
Yeah, I'm guessing that was Scott there. And again, just with a recurring theme today, just catching a little something that disc was on the wheel. I think that was your drive.
Yeah.
Long jumper for me that I think I was hoping out of the hand might have gone in, and then realized, oh, you know what, that's a fine layup. As it was coming to rest.
Okay.
Probably a similar thought for you there.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Nice putt from
mark
Jake
that!
for the birdie.
No, he said
So
the F word.
when we were looking at it there, and while you kind of heard Wally in the background,
Don't! That
telling
hurts
Jake
my.
not
That's so
to
much more
move,
editing. You're killing me. That's like
was
one of
this
the
was the
4 bad
longest
words
putt
of
hole.
YouTube.
Oh, that's right.
And
I
it
forgot about
looked
that.
very close. And I think we measured it off, and he wasn't.
Watch your back.
Yeah,
But we had to pace it off first. first.
I forgot about that happening that day.
We're
Yeah,
just like-
yeah. We had somebody step it off, and it wound up being okay. But we were like, he made
Yeah,
this
they
great
forward that
putt,
all
and we were
right.
like, no, don't
No.
move it.
Don't move the marker. Stop it.
My worst, longest putt experience also was at Bronte Creek, and I saw what looked to be a CTP that I had beaten. Picked it up, moved it, and realized as I looked at the page and I was about to put my name on it that it was a longest putt. And very quickly tried to put it back where it was found, and I don't think anybody noticed.
Here's hole 8, only 201 feet, straight down the hill. Throw basically your straightest disc at it because there really isn't a hyzer
This
or
one
an
is
Anheuser
my
line
HK11.
to be had because just so many guardian trees. Jake threw what looked like a great
Ironman,
shot.
this is where the
until it
only
decided
time he's
to take
allowed
a
to be like
ramp off that bridge.
outspoken.
Yeah, it just faded out earlier than I think he was expecting, earlier than we were expecting.
Oh wow.
Scott trying a little of that old,
That went, and I didn't want
let me lean in a certain direction and maybe it'll move the trajectory of the disc.
Well, he's got some good body English on it, that's for
He
sure.
does.
And it just seemed to ride those branches, whereas everyone else in the world will get knocked down.
Actually, though.
Yeah. And I threw mine over there with Jake because I liked his lie so much.
There is a route back there, but you have to get it far enough, and
Yeah.
I got a lot inside.
Oh, yeah, it's tricky on either the right or the left hand side. Like right short and left long are equally difficult, I would say, for different reasons.
And I
But
thought that
there is a backdoor line there if you're on the left, as Jake and I are.
yeah, I think more so where you are, and maybe even a little further. I don't know if you were like 2 or 3 feet further to your left,
Mm-hmm.
you might have a really good look at the basket.
Yep. And still put a little something in play, but I was pinched off there for sure.
Yeah, I think a little further over, and you're not
Oh my gosh.
catching that branch that kind of threw you off. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good.
I was gonna
looking-
say,
I thought I had the par
You
save,
had a
and
great
just
par save, and it just
Chain.
didn't catch those chains.
chained right through.
I was playing with somebody yesterday at Mohawk Park in Brantford, and they normally play at that course, and the baskets there are a little challenging to make a disc stay in. But somebody said to me, well, yeah, these baskets here are always spitting out. They're not like those baskets at Bronte Creek. I was like, I feel like we don't play Bronte Creek very often because those discs do not like to stay in that basket.
Oh, this is my awkward stance of the day because my disc was pretty well wedged underneath the log.
Yeah, that's a pretty great stance. You can see Scott there laughing.
Amazing.
Only 2 birdies on this hole through the day. Tyler Dalton and Vincent Robertus.
And again, another one that's kind of surprising for me because as you can see, it's easy to catch something or get offline and have trouble. But I would think it'd play one of the easier holes on the course. Excuse me. But it just goes to show you're playing a 1-round flex tournament and anything can happen. You might play 3 rounds and see some more birdies as things sort of average out. But some days things are just a little tighter, a little trickier than you'd expect.
So hole 9, as it flies, it's 252. It should be a straight shot. The problem is you have stuff on the left and the right that are kind of constraining how the discs can get to the basket.
Totally.
Scott kind of fades out there into the fun stuff on the right of the basket
Yes.
as you're approaching. It's a little uphill.
Guessing by fun stuff you mean very not fun stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very not fun.
Um,
It's an interesting putt. We'll go with that.
Sure. And I would say that where I landed is a pretty standard landing zone for players of our skill. If you don't manage to catch something on the way up, towards the top of the hill there, or in the valley, or on the other side of the valley where the basket is where you'll see a lot of players playing into.
Yeah. So yes, yours stopped and mine kind of skipped off the hill.
Oh, and a great upshot for Jake. He really loves throwing that pyro. These days he's throwing it off at like half the tees that he drives on. He throws it well.
It's a great bid because you're having to go over that bush.
Yeah, it's a tricky lie for that putt there for me.
And seeing as I picked up my berg there, I was just going for the layup because I've had some interesting times over there going for running those putts where I've
Get my
taken a little bit of the basket and rolled right down to where Scott was throwing from.
Yeah, this can be rollaway city. I think honestly, if you are gonna miss a putt here, like the better miss, as strange as it seems, is my miss there, where you actually miss the basket because you catch a band or a part of the basket, and all of a sudden you're down the hill and looking at a 44. Not that I was trying, so I was hoping it would go in. I just not very good at disco. And hole 10, 277-foot par 3, one of the more challenging holes on the course. It is out of bounds, all that long stuff on the right, and so you'll see players try and put something up the middle, or if they're hanging it out, they're praying it's coming back.
So this actually played as tied for the hardest hole on the day with hole 18. Playing like 0.37 above par. So getting close to a little over a third of a stroke above par.
Yeah. Any birdies on the day on this one? I wouldn't be surprised if there's a low number.
Well, we might want to save that till we get a little further on this hole.
Okay.
Not that I'm spoiling anything.
If we have to.
Oh yeah. I don't want to spoil anything here, but
oh, I forgot about that.
There might be one on this card.
Yeah.
Hey, I like that you got the card today.
Well, that's funny. I was just thinking objectively about the hole. I forgot that we played it and something happened. And there's Jake's drive again. Just
Jake
getting
turned
a
it
little away from
right over. Never had a chance to come back.
Oh, here's the outfit change. Rocking was that a big germ?
That's the big
Jersey?
jersey. Yeah. And I decided
Pop collar.
I wanted nothing to do with OB.
Yeah.
I stayed to the left of the tree that you kind of need to be right of if you want to have a chance at the birdie.
Another great pyro up shot from Jake, and you'll see that I did the same thing. I'm right over there with you on the left-hand side because I wanted no part of that would be either.
So another good run, just left a little short.
Yep.
Nice tap in 3 there.
And Scott puts it up.
Gives it
We're
a
running
good
out
effort.
of people that would have an opportunity to birdie this hole. I wonder who it could be.
Well, I know you mentioned earlier about making a couple big ones, and I'm pretty sure this was the other one.
Yeah, I had 2 long birdies on the day, and like I said, I missed a couple of short putts, so it all evened out. Any other birdies on the day?
So the other birdies on the day, we had Nathan Thompson, Nick Moore, and Vincent Robertus.
I'm hearing some familiar names here. A couple of ringers maybe in there too.
I don't know, maybe
Nate's,
some of you guys
Nate's
should
Dayoff,
be,
Nate Thompson.
maybe some of you guys need to move up in a minute.
Onwards and upwards as we continue the back 9 here. Gets a little easier from here for a while.
Here we are, hole 11, 220-foot par 3. Well, I don't know why I need to keep saying par 3.
Well, because there is a par 4 that is not normally a par 4 that sneaks up on us later.
Yeah, so it's generally a flick line or a turnover or, a lefty line.
Yeah.
We got to Scott's other favorite hole.
Yeah, except for that tree, which is probably his least favorite tree. And I will say that on the right-hand side there, between that pine that's just ahead of me and the cluster of pines to the right of that, there is a big high hyzer line as well. So I never used to throw it, and it's tougher at this time of summer, but in the spring before things grow in a little bit, you can definitely pipe a right-hand, backhand, hyzer, or overstable disc out and around. But you have to be worried whether you're going
flip up.
So when you say that,
the road.
pretty sure this was the line I was going for until I decided to put it right into the tree.
Yeah, and that's the issue, is whether it's more grown in the summer or not, you can totally catch something there and find yourself in some difficulty.
Nice touch.
Jake again trying that standard flick line and finding himself an open landing zone.
So didn't have a lot of work with here. Tried the little Annie forehand. Looked good coming out of the hand. I guess I caught.
I mean,
must
honestly,
have caught this tree.
Yeah, but even from where you were at, I don't mind that at all. It's a nice upshot. It's just you were in a tricky spot with a lot of stuff in the way.
Here you can see the wind's kind of picked up for us, and it just.
Yeah, we had the perfect tee time. It was raining all morning, hard. There's a pavilion to the right of this specific basket that Jake and Scott and a few others of us were in, just practicing putting. But it was just pouring. It was the only place to stay dry. And the rain stayed off for our round, but the wind was whipping up a few times. We're collecting a few pars and an unfortunate bogey, I think, which probably got into early. I was going to let you get away with it, but...
Yeah, honestly.
Pretty sure the score won't. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Hole 12, 247-foot shot. You can't kind of see the basket just past that that first pine there. Nice looking shot. Unfortunately, you got those little trees thrown right in the way.
Yeah, this is a little less the case than some of the other holes we were talking about, where it seems as if there's nothing in front of you, but you find the one branch that is. But this is still, it seems like a relatively open shot, but the way those two trees on the right are set up, they actually get in the way pretty effectively of a righty backhand shot. I think you'll see me piping something right into them. Yep.
Yeah.
Seems like there's a line, and all of a sudden there's not.
And again, a tough hole for the lefty, but I think Scott's stuck through here. We'll see when we get up to the green.
Yeah, Scott with what looks to be great throw. Jake with, I think, the best of the bunch.
Absolutely piped it right through there.
Yeah, you can see he likes it. Yeah, that's great.
I have a feeling
Tree time?
let go a little early. Just getting behind those trees there. Although...
This is a very challenging spot to be in if it's not obvious from the footage.
And I think I learned my lesson from hole 6 here, where
Go
I'm
ahead,
just
Josh.
going to get it out.
Just pitch out and be smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, smart man. And here I am taking a long jumper after catching that tree just to the right of the basket, putting it under the basket. Scott did have a great drive there. Unfortunately, can't connect on his putt. And that's, I think, that is a par save. That's a really nice par save.
Yeah. Just cleaning up a bunch of price.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a tough par from behind that tree. Jake and I finishing off our pars as well. That disc did not want to stay in the basket for me. You can see my face.
Throwing under a tree is a lesson I learned from a couple of guys at a Berry Club. Just turn something upside down and get it underneath the tree.
Why not?
It's maybe the longest hole in this layout.
I believe it is, yeah. Hole 13, 287. Jake skies a forehand, but actually puts it in a really good spot, I think. That's sort of the standard play for those that have a flick. Take something wide. You can also turn over a backhand, or if you're Scott, you can do lefty hands.
You're going with the turnover shot here.
I am, yeah, that's my drift I'm lining up, so slightly unstable 7-speed fairway. Where I would like it to, but it's sort of like Jake. It's in an open spot there on the right-hand side where I've got a clean look at the basket. So this hole, as long as you're to the right side of that tree the basket is hanging on, you're usually in a decent spot for a par. So when you stay on the left, you find yourself in trouble.
I think we had a little headwind because that just did not come out.
Yeah, it didn't
at
come
all.
at all. Scott actually takes a really interesting line here. That tree I was saying you never want to be on the left side of. There is one small gap right behind the basket as you're looking at it from the tee pad. So if you get something out as a lefty, right where your disc is sort of tracking a little further and fading out as a lefty towards the pin, you can actually tuck a birdie in through a hole in the back of that tree. So Scott doesn't quite execute that line there, but it's all that really is there for him as a lefty. And he's still in an okay spot to try and save it.
Yeah.
Great run for you there. If that was maybe an inch lower, that might have been in.
Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of branches kind of guarding your entry.
For sure. And there Scott is pitching up to that spot that he was trying to get to with his drive.
I think you have the same thing here. You've got a line at the basket, but there's a lot of branches that just
It's tough.
are right there to swat you down.
Yeah, so if you take it high, which I normally do, a more floaty putt, you're risking catching something, or you fire it low and hard and worry you might be on that hill behind or spit out or bounce away. So it's a 3 you're happy with, and you don't push the 2 too hard usually when you're in that thing. So
not a hole that played that hard, only 0.19 above par, but only one birdie on the day. Shout out to Patrick Russell for taking down the 2 on this hole.
good job, Pat Russell.
I wish I could have seen how he did it.
Yeah, I've played well over 100 rounds at Bronte Creek, most of them on this layout, and I don't think I've ever pocketed a birdie. If I have, maybe once or twice.
Hey, James
It's a tough birdie.
Conrad, stop taking out the trees there.
You did a really good job
And
not
Jake,
swearing, Jake.
very unhappy with that top band he hit. I don't blame him. He was in a really good spot there.
Oh,
But,
that'd be nice to hit
can't
if I
quite
was
connect.
gonna swear. Oh, I'm swearing in my head. Don't worry about that.
Is the only par 4 on the day. He typically plays as a par 3, but chatting with Chris Gonzalez, he wanted to make it more accessible to some of the divisions that we're playing today. So playing as a par 4, it is an island green. You can see a ring of wood there surrounding the basket. And this short grass here as well is also inbounds. Any of the long stuff is OB proceeding to a drop zone.
Yeah, so accounting for the additional stroke that we get here. This did play as the easiest hole of the day.
3-2-2, I think.
Yeah, it played almost a little over 3/4 of a stroke under par. Again, to the par 4.
Yeah.
As Gail mentioned, it's normally played as a par 3.
Yeah, and this was a little frustrating for me, this hole. This is a hole I normally have dialed in. And I think I said last time we recorded this commentary as well, not as if anybody is really, dying to not hear any spoilers about the results of AM2 at the Bronte and the Beast single round flex tournament. But I wound up placing pretty well, and there were a few strokes that I felt like, looking back on things, I would have liked to have back. And I can't remember the last time that I missed this island, except for this specific moment. So I'll be going to the drop zone. You pipe a nice drive up there. I think you're in that comfortably.
Yeah, just a little deep. It landed and skipped just behind the basket.
Jake with a great look. I think if he'd gone with a slightly less stable disc, he might not have faded out quite so hard. But Jake and Scott and I are all going to the drop zone. At a par 4, none of us are really running it too hard. We're giving it a bit of a bid, but at this point, we're happy to connect for our 4th shot, the tap in after these putts from there.
Yeah, it's a little unusual. I will say that an island hole does not generate any bogeys or worse on the day, but again, this is normally a par 3.
Yeah, and there are normally many bogeys. On this card, there would have been a par and 3 bogeys if we were playing it as a par 3. But you're connecting there for a really nice birdie and taking the box from us. Whoever it was that had it.
Oh man, I pulled a keel on the
Hole 15.
This is another hole about as standard as it gets for a right-hand backhand player.
Yeah, it's not that far, but you have to hit your line.
It's a very specific line. If you're too inside, you can easily find yourself in some trouble. And as you can see here, the hill actually sort of slopes down towards the basket. So if you take your drive out too wide, it just gets hung up at the top of the hill and doesn't fit anywhere near where you would like it to be.
Yeah. And if you take it inside, you've got those trees right in front of you to deal with.
Yeah.
Too wide, you're dealing with that bush on the right there.
Yeah.
I ended up didn't see it land, but it was just long and I had to putt over a little bush. This is well thrown. Again, with how wet it was, didn't really get a skip. I think you're looking at it now or in the last couple of weeks when it's been fairly dry, that probably would have skipped right down into the basket. Not quite sure what that hit.
No, Scott with an unsanctioned cigarette and a lefty flick that somehow gets him into a good spot despite hitting something that shouldn't exist. And nice layup for his par. Another metal hit for us. Just adding
some more metal on the card.
And a total air ball for me. Again, just one of a couple of strokes that I really would have liked to have back at the end of the day. But like we were saying, it's tough for any player at our skill level to put together a perfect round.
This was, I think, a hole or so after you decided you weren't looking at leaderboard anymore.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I think I want to say like through the front 9 or so. And then I stopped for the majority of the course. And I don't think I looked again until I had putted out on 17 or maybe until I was on the 17 tee. But
hole 16, 242 feet. You want to get it either where I put it, which is right to the back door. Ideally, you want to keep it to the right of that little sapling there, and about 40 feet past it. I want to say is where your opening is.
Yeah, and this opening is getting smaller and smaller as things grow in.
Oh.
In the winter, this is a very accessible hole. It doesn't play too difficult, but when we were throwing here in the spring, it's quite challenging. And now on the 4th weekend in June, it is almost inaccessible with how grown it is on either side.
I actually watched, just at the tail end of winter, Oz ace this hole.
Wow, skip ace?
Skip ace.
Yeah, that's about the only way you can do it. That's really impressive.
It's still semi-frozen ground and just
yeah.
Absolutely beautiful looking shot.
Alright, taking it a little high, a little wide. I believe I still have a backdoor look from my end.
over there?
Yeah, I think you're okay there.
Or, I guess a front door look, but not a good
I
one.
was gonna say you're kind of on the way to the red basket, which is
Yeah.
just down around the corner.
Scott with an
Scott doing
unfortunate
a kind of
skip away.
similar thing.
Yeah.
Playing the shot for the wrong
Buy
basket
my
there.
mitten bags, yo.
And I think Jake finds that backdoor route as well. Maybe a little early for that, but yeah, you can put it over the top.
Jake, not quite sure what he was going. Oh, he took the side.
I think that was just a weird perspective thing. It looked to me like he just putted it straight into all of the trees, but I think he got around it. Yeah, and there you see that backdoor look, and a great run for you. Just one of the many things that are in the way that you caught there.
No. My legs aren't long enough to straddle out as far as I needed to on that particular shot.
Oh, for sure.
And here's some more of the group drawing some more metal.
Yeah.
Which we are wont to do in M2.
Yes, for sure. And saving my car.
And not entirely sure how legal that was, but minis, as far as I understand, minis are legal. So just dropped in the mini for the par there.
Hey, I won't say anything if you don't seem legal to me.
Hole 17, straight at it, 217 feet.
This is a hole where the actual
And
line...
unfortunately, anything in that long grass is OB.
Yes, on both sides.
On both sides.
It's one of those holes where if there was no OB and no obstructions on either side, the throw would look so simple. It's a straight shot right at the basket, 217, very accessible to all of us. But sometimes when you have all those things in your sight line or in the back of your head as you're throwing, all of a sudden what is a very straightforward shot becomes a little bit trickier.
Yeah.
And so you find a little bit of that long grass OB there, unfortunately. I think a few of us do on this hole, actually.
I think there was a little bit of a headwind. I tried throwing my my Rainmaker on a little hyzer, and it just kind of flipped. It didn't quite come back as much as I wanted it to.
Didn't unflip.
Yeah.
And I'm testing the OB on the left hand of the basket there, but stay out of trouble.
Scott with a nice big lefty hyzer unfortunately gets a little too much ground play.
Well, I got no ground play on 15, and Scott gets all the ground play on 17 and skips all the way out of bounds.
And Jake just absolutely
parking
nailed
it.
that hole.
That's that pyro again, I think. Like I said,
I think that is his pyro. Yeah.
He goes back to that disc time and time again because it works for him. He throws it well. Scott, nice par save. Just a little low.
Didn't quite make it. We had to have a little discussion about where we thought that went out. It's kind of hard to tell from the tee box.
For sure. Connecting on the birdie look there for me, I can't remember if I looked before the putt or on the tee box or what, but I had just checked the score to see that I was tied for first, heading into that hole. So you might have seen a bit of a big exhale after making a 12-foot putt there. It's because I knew I added a stroke there and I was pretty happy about it.
And that 17 did play as the easiest hole of the event, assuming we were playing the proper, the regular pars.
Yes,
taking 14 at a third of a stroke under par.
Yeah. So, 18 is a tight gap to start. That grass, I will be thanking my lucky stars, is not out of bounds on this hole, only on 17. But it opens up really nicely after you get through that initial gap. So you'll see some players going high and over the trees on what's the right-hand side of this footage, the way we're looking at it. You'll see some players going straight up the middle with a backhand, straight up the middle with a forehand. Anything other than that, I don't really know what you're doing, but there are choices.
Just a little bit not long grass, but definitely a run at it.
You see me putting my hands up saying, I'm fine there, taking my par.
Yeah. Jake just getting through again, kind of similar result.
Yeah, same spot. Great drive
Great shot from Scott.
Yeah. Almost catches some wood there.
Yeah. And then I'm lining up the big Anheuser shot, which at this point I knew how far out of it I was.
But man,
thought I got a nice flight out of it.
What a run there. Like that might have been 2 feet away from catching some basket or acing. That's the problem with that line, is every once in a while, it just, if you miss and keep it glidey, it just sails right past the basket.
Yeah.
Not that it's not a great line to take, but you want to give it a good run from there, especially as you're saying when there aren't considerations for your replacement. You just want to fire everything. And, that was like...
fire everything apparently I did.
Yeah. But still, I mean, you're a foot from like a highlight moment for the season there if you ace that, so I love giving it a bid.
Yeah.
gutsy play.
Just trying to clean this up here.
Yep.
This again played as tied for the hardest hole with hole 10 playing .37 above par.
Yep.
Just missing the chains there.
Well, these elevated baskets are tricky sometimes, especially. I mean, you and I aren't exactly the most vertically inclined gentlemen, and as a slightly shorter guy, I find I really struggle with higher baskets, and I think this was just getting a little tangled up with, missing one, and then all of a sudden you're missing two and missing three. But it's a challenging putt to make.
So,
and there we go. There's 18 holes of the Bronte and the Beast Flex tournament, and great card, great day. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I'm Galen Naidu Harris.
Josh Sachs.
Thanks for listening to Canadian Disc Golf Productions.